Right. Okay. So here's the reason why we need to refactor the code here. Um, so for every request, we need to do these steps just to make sure that the user is a current that current user, the token is valid, and there's a user in other ways that match the token, right? That match the ID. So we may have to repeat this step in every single round. For example, if you want to update the book, you have to repeat this step, and that's go against the how programming works. So we can create a middleware to handle this task for us. So all we're gonna create a middleware to handle this task, just like very similar to this, but this one is not a Mongoose middleware. It's gonna be a Express middleware. So what I do here is I'm gonna create a new folder. I'm gonna call helpers, or you can call it middleware, or you can call it helpers. And I'm gonna say authentication JS. Okay. So we already know that middlewares are just functions, right? I'm gonna say define a function, or you can uh, export function. Auth. You can call it auth or login require. Wait, export equal, I think. Login require. Okay. Export equal login require. So I'm gonna create a middleware called login require. What it does is it's gonna do the almost step 1 and step 2 for us. So we don't have to repeat the code, right? So I'm gonna copy that first. I'm gonna copy here. I'm gonna copy. We can use try and cat as well. And then here's a cat block. That's it. You can connect here. And then here you don't connect. What next here? Request, respond, that next. So a middleware have these 3 objects, 2 objects and 1 function. Request, respond, next, right? So if it successfully do everything else, it's gonna call next. Else it's gonna call next with an error. I don't know if we already learned that yet, but let's not worry about this one. Yes, we return with a response. Response dot very similar to this one. I'm going to copy and paste it here. Okay, there we go. So what I do here is like I also have a request, and here we need to put the login require, comma, it's a function, right? Login require is a middleware, so we need to import it. But login require equal reply, go up 1 level, go into helpers and authentications. Okay. Okay, so now we can use login require inside our router. So here's an error. Why is only valid inside async function? Yes. We're still missing a bunch of things. For example, so this one has to be an async functions. We also need to import JWT. I'm going to copy this. You need to import JWT. You need to import user. Well, so here's a challenging part. There's a more advanced stuff here that I'm thinking about. But okay, usually we don't need this. I'm going to remove that. And it's going to skip next. Request dot user ID equal to payload dot underscore ID. So we modify the code a little bit. We still keep this logic, right? And still have this logic. We don't need the user. So here's like we only pass, for example, in this bucket. Where's the, oh my God, I closed a picture. Remember the middleware chain. So request here, this object, request object will be passed down to the next middleware in the chain, right? And so I create a props called request.user ID, and then I pass the ID to that. I assign that ID, the value here, to that props, that field. And then request here will go to this function. Request will go to that function. Okay. So this function we have the request, and inside the request you will have request.user ID. So I'm gonna remove this. Do I need to? Okay, I'm gonna put it here, and I'm gonna remove this part. Ta-da! It's much shorter now, and you will have request.user ID. Cons user equal to await user dot find by ID. Now you have request dot user ID. Okay, where is it coming from? Request dot user ID come from here. Why? Because we attacked that value. We assign that value to this prop user ID props, and then we connect. You can just do this. That's fine. We throw error, and when we throw error, it's go to this block, and then we can return, stopping everything. So that's it. Still something missing. Require callback function got a object undefined router put. Where is it? Which line? So I have an error here, guys. Say in browse user line 61. Browse user line 61. So this one require a function. Require a function. I think it doesn't connect here. That's why. Actually, you should try and test it. Why is fail? Undefined. I think I didn't export it. Xbox. Nothing required. Login required. Authentication. Helpers. That's weird. Hang on, give me a minute to fix this one. I'm gonna define a function, and then I'm gonna module export equal login required. Okay. Okay. I don't know syntax problem. Okay, so I successfully export the login required function, and then I use it in my controllers, and yeah, in my route here. And if we pass this function, with passive middleware, we expect to receive request.user ID. If the user doesn't provide any token or token is invalid, which means it will throw the error and it will stop the whole chain by calling return. I don't think it's going to return. I don't remember when return will stop the whole thing or not, but it's gonna call next. So let's test it first. I'm gonna test the same route here. I want to update the same thing, and instead of giving the correct token, I'm gonna remove the E in the front. Cut it. Okay, send it. So it's the invalid token, right? Good, right? It's a good sign. So where is it coming from? Where is it message coming from? Can anyone guess? It's an invalid token. Where is it coming from? I need to open the chat window. Let's not worry too much about it. I will show you the code for this function. Right. There's no shut message. There's no shut invalid token. In this code, or even in this one, there's no such thing as invalid token, right? But in the response, you still see that. What does it mean? Can anyone guess where it's coming from? It's from here. It's from here. It's from this block, right? So because the token is invalid, the string token here is invalid. This JWT.verify, it will throw an error, right? And that error will be caught by this block, right? And then we throw the error again, we throw another error, and this row will be caught by this one. And the console log here that you see here is actually from this line 24. So let's see line 24. Right. I'm going to test again. What's that? Right. It's reloading. Okay. So here we go. You should see the console log on line 24. Right. It's from here. And the message is that you see on Postman. The message here was sent on line 25. And the reason why we see that error is that I purposely remove the E here. So now if I give it a correct token, and I expect to change the name here to, for example, right now I see Nguyen. So I want to change the name to Nguyen. Right? So that's what. Okay. So we successfully, I successfully restructured the code a little bit. And instead of having the logic inside this function, this handler, I move it out to a middleware. I move out to another function, and that function is our middleware. And the middleware will be called here, right? And what it does is like it passes the request of user ID to the next function. So this is the next function. Let's go after this logging required. So this is the next function, and this function will have request of user ID. Oh man, you go to work. It's done. It's done. It's already done. So we have the request user ID here, and we will execute the rest of the logic just like before. Okay. it's a little bit confusing looking at the code. Right? Yeah. View double workload. Okay. This one as well. Right. Questions about this? Is there any line here? Okay. I kept the same logic, but I separate them into two functions. Right? Each function will read the tokens, make sure that the user provide the tokens, and then it will read the token and verify the token. And instead of return the user ID, I just pass the user ID to, I attach the user ID to the request object. And then this request object will go to the next function. So this function will have request.user ID always. Okay. I'm gonna remove the console here if you want. I think just keep it there for to debug, easier to debug. Yeah. We will learn how to handle the errors later next week. So right now, let's go with let's manually handle the errors. Okay, no one answering. How is this week? Easy, medium, so super, okay. How is this week? I'm gonna send you this the whole code here. So this is the middleware, and this is the route, the handler. So there's so many things to learn this week. Yeah, it's supposed to be the hardest week. Next week is gonna be a little bit easier because you already know some stuff here. Okay. So we actually done. We're actually done. So I'm gonna push the code here. Pistas. Wow, pistas. There you go. The code is on GitHub. What else do we want to do? Take a look at the learning portal. So we successfully log in. We also issue the token. So we also attach the token to request. We also authenticate the tokens. Right? Oh, export dot. Oh my God. Okay. You can use the syntax or follow what I did there. Oh, this one. This way, I actually return I attack instead of attack the user ID, I attack the whole user object. I attack the user object. Anyway, it's fine. Anyway, it's fine. You can attack only the user ID, or you can do one more step, get a user and attack a user to request object. That's fine. But this way is a little bit better. Even though in the handler you have to do the same thing, right? But in some case you don't need to worry about the user object. You only need the ID. So that's why just return the user ID here. In some handler, you don't need the whole user object. Just the user ID is fine. So in this case, you need to get that user, update something, and then say it back. Okay. Protect resource. All right. For example, for some resource you want to protect. For some resource you want to, for example, the book here. If you want to create a new book, you need the user. But that let's leave that for tomorrow. I think today is quite enough. Just oh, there's logout. Logout is very easy. Read this one again. Please read this one, not that. This one. I will reset the learning portal after I upload the video. But for now, just read this one. I update the content a little bit. For logout, you just simply forget the token on the front end. That's it. That's fine enough. If you want to read more on that token, actually the authentication is more complicated than this. You have something called access token. We also have something called request token. And here's the summary on how to use them. For now, just go with the simple version. So I forgot to mention about this. So when you issue the token, right? When you create a token, it's going to be here. When you create a token in your model, in your user model, when you create a new token here, there's a third option. There's a third parameter. It's going to be the options, right? It's the option. For example, you can specify how long the token is going to survive. It's going to be valid. So you can say it expires in 1 day, for example. 1 day, just like that. It's smart enough to understand it. So this token expiring in 1 day. I'm gonna say again run there, and I'm gonna test it. I'm gonna log in again. Okay. So I'm gonna copy this token, paste it to the tool here. So now you see expire at 1 day after the issue date. Okay. And so when you verify it in the authentication header here, when you validate it, if the token expired, it will throw an error. Okay. Say, for example, something like token expired, maybe. Let's test it, right? Test it. So to test it, I'm gonna make it one to 1 second, for example, 1 second, like this. And I'm gonna log in. So this token is already expired because 1 second already passed. So I'm gonna use the token to update info. I'm gonna paste everything here. Okay, send. Okay, let's say JWT expired. Okay, so I go back and change this one to 1 day. Right, that's fine. So that's how you add the expiration to the token. Again, I'm gonna push code. JWT. Push code. Right. What else? On the learning time. Okay. To log out, just simply forget the token of the front end. You know? And this is to protect the resource when you create a new book. You don't have to worry about this. We will do it tomorrow with a topic about relationship. And that's it. That's pretty much it for today. You only had to go home and redo everything. Redo everything. Try to redo everything. Try to redo everything. And then if you have questions, you can ask about the flow or about the code or about the syntax. And then when you're done, you can have more time to work on your portfolio. Okay. Yeah, this was super hard. Oh my god. Paul, any questions? No, you're not done. Okay. The code is on GitHub. I think the middleware here confused you guys, right? Is it? Uh, okay. Do you have any questions, guys? Which part do you want me to go over? No. Okay, I'll leave you guys some time to redo everything. See you guys later.